wraps are brilliant, aren't they? They're great for actually tools, they're great for your makeup brushes, and most of all, they are brilliant for your sewing equipment. So if you're a new sewer and you want a really easy project, this is going to be perfect for you. You might have been treated to some fat quarters over the Christmas period. This is going to be the ideal size as well. So you just need 2 fat quarters and a little bit of wadding. I've cut out 2 main fabric pieces at 55 centimetres by 25. I've cut the wadding out like that to be the same. Make sure that they go the right way up. So that's going to sandwich the wadding. This piece here for the zip pocket I've got at 22 by 14. This piece here is 19 by 13, and this square panel is just under 20, so 19.5 square. And then the flap bit at the top, which I will use, is actually 14 by 38 zip. So that's at 22. I'll cut the pocket at 15 there, like that. And I'm going to install the zip. Advise you to do is just keep everything planned and separate at the moment. So I'm going to leave that there. I'm going to leave this pocket there. Leave that pocket there. And the flap that goes there. These 2 are going to be the straps, so I'll leave them to the side. And that's my wadding sandwich. Here's some bias binding. So I have some on a roll here. And I've pressed it in half so you can see. So press it in half. When you press bias, have a little bit extra sticking out on the edge there. And the reason is when you pop this in, because I'm going to use this to trim the top of my pockets like that. When I put that into the sewing machine and stitch along the bottom there, very close to the edge, it will almost certainly guarantee that I've caught the bottom, and that's really useful. So I'm using a light blue thread, even though we're working on purple, because that blue thread actually complements this fabric. So the way to trim this, just cut a little bit more than you need, trim that off, and press open the bias. I'm going to just place the bias. Now, can you see that crease in the middle? Place your fabric right up to there so it's nice and snug into that fold. Look at that. Beautiful. So it's hugging. And can you see how where I folded the bias tape shorter than the back? If I top stitch that now, I'm definitely going to be catching the back, aren't I? All right. Sneaky little tricks that help us to do well. That's what we like. If you don't like using pins, just use pegs. It's fine. The advantage of using pegs, can you see what happens with these pins? See how the fabric starts lifting up. Okay, so we've got our machine set with the needle right in the middle there. I'm going to place the bias tape right on the edge there. Can you see? Wonderful things about. Okay, there we are. So let's go a little bit faster. There we are, nice and steady. And as we get to the end, we're going to lock that down into place. There we go. So that's going to sit in the centre of my roll. Just snip that away. Don't worry about the stitches. And there we go. Just snip that away. So if I just fold that over by 1 centimetre-ish, like that. Let's just fold it over so we can see what we're doing. Same on the other side there. And then we just top stitch this into place. The next pocket I want to trim is this one. It might look like it doesn't need it, and that's fine, but I think I want to keep the theme going, so I'm actually going to put the bias on there. So that means I'm actually going to fold this in like that and then add the trim. Now we're going to do the zip pocket like that. Place the zip in there. We're going to place the zip that way, because then when I sew that zip down like that, it will be nice and flush against there. So let's sew that one down first. So grab my zip foot, and this one on this machine looks like this. So remove the regular foot like that. I'm going to push that thread to the back like that. Now the tape sits under this part here, and if I show you, can you see how the zip tape sits directly under there, and the needle will go very close to the zip coils, and if I sew all along there, the zip teeth remain in the same part there all the way down, and the foot pushes against the coils, so it's really handy to use the correct foot like that. And this time I'm going to put pins on the lower tape like that, to make sure it lines up at the top, and place a pin there, make sure it's nicely sat there, another pin there. So we've not got to worry about taking these pins out, and make sure another pin sits there. There we go. It's a little bit scruffy, isn't it? Should we do that one again? There you go. Right, so there we go. Lock stitch. And as long as I keep that steady with the edge there, I know I'm going to get, I didn't do that last pin very well, I'm going to get a very good and neat zip. Lock the stitches in right at the end. There we go. Look how neat that is. So we're going to press that down like that, and then I'm going to flip this over, and then push the coils away like that. Try that again. So pull the zip away from the fabric like that, and there we go. All right, so I'll bring the top part back, so make sure I've got it in the right way, and line it up. You can see where I've not cut it very straight because it doesn't line up very well. Match it to the top of the zip like that, and then place a couple of pins in again. I'm going to place the pins on the bottom tape this time like that, and make sure it's all lined up, and there we go. Press foot down Make sure you feel for the coils, they're sitting against the wall of that tape. You can just leave that edge there anyway if you want to, and then go all the way down. Lock your stitches as always. And you don't have to take any of the pins out. Great. When you get to the end, lock your stitches. Right, now we're going to sew this down, so I'm going to fold that over, and I'll need to fold the sides over as well. So when I fold this over, it's going to be quite tricky because it's quite bulky. So if I fold that over and place a pin there, like that. Place another pin there, like that. What I do then is press this down. And I've roughly just measured 1 centimetre of fabric. There. And when I put this on my wrap, I'm going to just do a top stitch along there, and I need to do the same on this side. So don't worry, I haven't forgotten about the zip pull. Fold over again about 1 centimetre. I'm going to pin that in place just like that and press this down. There you go. Okay, so there we are. There's our pocket. I'm going to just fold that down. There we go. All right. Put a couple of pins in this time. Make sure it's all lined up. There we go, like that. And then we're going to top stitch it. When we get to that end, we're going to undo the zip. Okay, let me show you how to do the strap. I'm going to fold the fabric over. So this is, let's measure it. It's longer than I need it. So it measures 40 centimetres by 5 centimetres. So I've got 5 centimetre strap. You can make it narrower if you want to. 3 centimetres would be ideal, but it's nice for you to be able to see this fully, and if you're a beginner, for you to work on it. So just match up the edges, make sure they sit together, pop some pins in there, make sure they don't come out. As I say, I don't like to use too many pins because I feel the work gets bumpy. All the way down. There we go. So I've laid all the pins in. I'm going to start from the top there and work my way down. Pivot and then work my way down. So start like that. Lock the stitches. So I'm using the edge of the foot. Lock the stitches. And pivot there. Now remove that first pin because it's in the way. Just hold it down with your fingers. And when you get to the pin, just stop, remove the pin and continue. nearly there. And when we get to the end, lock those stitches. Now, if you've got one of these straws, you can use any straw. It doesn't have to be one that you bought. You probably have straws in your cupboard. Push that all the way through and then poke that into the straw and help ease it over. Can you see how it comes through the other way? Ta-da! And bring the bamboo stick back out. And there you go. That's one strap. You need to do the other. So the last little thing we need to work on is the flap. I'm going to just unfold it. I'm going to stitch down the two sides. So I have my pattern fabric at the bottom, then my wadding, and then my fabric again. Now I'm going to stitch it without bias binding around it. I'm making this as easy as we can. I'm going to use safety pins to hold it into place. I like these angled safety pins, they're really good, from a company called Corbond. So just place a few of those in there. Really nice because they're angled, they go right in easily. Get my hand in there and pull that zip round like that. So take it halfway, that's fine. And what I'm going to do, I'll cut it to match where the seam edge is, like that. We can cut that zip tape now actually. Let's cut that away. There we are. Fold that over. There you go. I'm going to leave that like that. Okay. There's our next pocket. I'm going to sit that so it touches. There they touch. Peg those down. There we go. Birds, see the birds. Make sure they all sit on top like that. Need some more safety pins just to hold this layer in place. And if you want to, you can draw your seam allowance to make sure you get all the layers. A 1 centimetre seam allowance all the way round. Okay, I'm going to start at the turning hole, which is just there, and I'm going to follow the line, put the press foot down. Let's lock that into place. Stop at the pivot point, and we go around. Oops, press the foot down. Stop at the turning hole, and there we go. Keep pressing, make sure all the corners are nice and crisp. I'm just going to press the opening, make sure that sits nice and flat there. And we're going to, you can hand stitch that, or you can just do a top stitch, whatever you feel you'd rather do. But think, if you do a top stitch, you've not practiced any hand stitching. So look at it as a nice practice. Be really proud of your work. So do the best you can. Try not to go through shortcuts, because you're only improving your own skills, and that's really good. You should be really proud of yourself. I found some elastic, which hopefully goes with this. And see this gap here? What I'm going to do is cut a couple of pieces there and place them inside there. Make the other one a bit longer. Okay, like that. And there you see, what happens there is I can place something in that gap. And there we go, that should sit nicely and evenly. And I think I'm happy with that. You'll really find you'll benefit from having a walking foot. They're really useful items for projects like this, or stretch fabrics. So anything that's velvet, heavy, thick. Right, let's lock that stitch. You can see it getting a bit puckered there. Okay. Now I'm going to go straight over the zip coils. Like that. I want to take this pin away. If you've got good sharp needle, I've got a size 80 needle in there. And it's a new needle. You shouldn't have a problem going over a zip. Just remove this second. It's just getting a bit bulky there. Let's just keep going. Lock the stitch at the bottom. There we go. And there you can see, because I've used a black thread on the bottom, you can see how all of that's gone through. That white stuff that you can see is the wadding that's pierced through, but over time it will disappear and it's fine. So I'm just trimming off those long threads that overhang, 2 centimeters along there, 2 centimeters along there. Okay, and I think I'll make a couple of the pockets 3 centimeters, 1 and 2, and then whatever size pockets left over is left over, isn't it? Now I used a stitch length of 2.5 there. I've increased it to 4, and I'm going to show you the difference. You see the difference there? It's always nicer to have a longer stitch. There we go, all done. Wrap that away. Wrap that round. And there you go. You've got yourself a nice little tool wrap.